Yeah, so we'll start with the happy part. So I like for me, I'm kind of a mind over matter type of dude. So like if I and I feel like sometimes, in positivity, right, it's kind of a state of mind, right? And you can
Hmm.
put yourself in that state of mind. So what I do is I make a point in my mind and I think to myself, it's going to be a good day, kind of a thought process. And then on top of that, I try to bring up the people around me, and I feel like that helps my mind be
Hmm.
more positive. So, like, for instance, when someone walks by, I just say, "Hey, such and such, I just want you to know that I appreciate you."
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And at first, I'm going to tell you, at first, people think you're just messing with them. Like at first, they're like, oh, they think you're just full of crap or that you don't mean it. It's not sincere. But then they realize after a week or 2 weeks or whatever of you doing that, whenever, you see them in passing or whatever, you're just like, hey, man, I just want to let you know I really appreciate everything you do, you know, for the team, for everything. I just want you to know that.
Appreciation, appreciation, just even for the simplest of things, can go a long way.
Yeah.
Um, Such a long way, and it's unreal. And there's lots of statistics out there on, especially men, who feel underappreciated, but they don't even know what it's like to be appreciated. There's no validation, there's no appreciation, there's no gratitude towards what they do in a given day. It doesn't matter what industry we're talking about right now, but specifically with mechanics, I know early years of being a mechanic, I was super lucky. I had an amazing foreman right off the bat,
Yeah.
that cared about
Same.
all of us, that cared about all of us. He was an ass, but he was an ass for us, not just for us in the sense that he took care of us in the community of our shop, but he was an ass because, like, this is what you need to learn. I'm going to do
Yeah.
everything I possibly can to make sure you learn it. If you're being a jerk off while I'm trying to teach you something, I'm going to treat you like an ass. You need to learn this. This is going to help you
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
more money. It's going to help you take care of your family. It's going to help you 20 years from now. You need to learn this.
Yeah.
So there's not everybody has that luxury of being,
Yeah.
whether it's small town or whatever the case may be, not everybody has that luxury of having a great first foreman.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's where that gratitude and appreciation comes in. Like, he appreciated all of us. Now, he never said it. And then
Yeah. Yeah.
here's the small detail that we're maybe transitioning into, because not everybody learns the same way. If you don't
Hmm.
appreciate somebody, but you think you are, like, for example, he'd buy everybody coffee in the morning. Not every
Hmm.
morning, maybe once a week. It's usually us buying him coffee
Yeah. Yeah.
in gratitude, but he'd buy us coffee. Or on Saturday morning at 7:30 when we all showed up hungover, he'd buy us pizza.
Yeah.
Not the
Yeah. Yeah.
shop, not the shop. He'd buy
He
pizza
bought it out of his pocket, which
out of
makes a
his pocket,
difference.
which makes the difference.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
we knew, because that was the kind of person he was. At least I did. I know
Yeah.
at least two of the other guys knew, because he didn't even say "I love you" to his kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, he was that kind of stoic kind of guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, we knew when we were being appreciated. Again, not everybody can be that actionable with that kind of appreciation. And you saying it once a week, every week, continuously to the same people over and over again, it's like they actually they can. It's not just being said;
Yeah.
it's being shown.
Yeah. Yeah. It turns into a habit, right? And then next thing you know, the guy next to you is you're walking by him. He goes, "Hey, man, I just want to let you know I
Yeah.
appreciate you." And you're like, "That really feels good, guy. I just want you to know I appreciate you appreciating me." That's what it ends up turning into on the shop.
And you know
So
what? And it's funny when you grow up in this industry, no matter whether you start when you're 18 or when you start when you're 35, it's "I appreciate you," but usually it's then "go for yourself" with
yeah.
a
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
smile,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
get used to it because it's really hard for us. And I don't know whether, you know what, I don't know enough women in this trade to know whether they would be as accepting of it as we are, because I don't think would be nearly as appropriate as it would us doing the same thing as we walk by and give them, like, nutting them in the first, like
Yeah.
popping them like we used to. It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
appropriate. But at the same time, that mentality, that's the I appreciate you, I thank you, you're my brother, you're my
Yeah.
sister, we want to take care of you. The verbal side of things may need to come out more because, not
Yeah.
saying it.
So what it really is it's making a practice of it, right? And then I feel like that transitions into you being able to show people that you appreciate them on the next level, like your foreman did,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like practice makes perfect, right? But you got to start somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what really
That's
started that for me,
that's huge. That's an epic quote right there. Practice makes
yeah,
perfect, but you got to start somewhere.
yeah. So, and for me, that's kind of the way I did it, right? And that's part of kind of like, you know, we can get way in the weeds on it, but like, I'm really big on the mentorship stuff, and I have been for like the last 5 or 6 years. And like, I have an approach with my mentees where, I do, when I'm teaching something, I do it visually and audibly and hands on. I want them to touch it and feel it and do it. But I'm also talking it verbally through the repair. And then we also have the repair instruction out while we're doing the repair. And it all kind of goes together with my mentorship style. And I'm kind of getting in the weeds a little bit there, but where it all kind of started for me was being a father, because being a father has made me a better mentor without a doubt. My obviously You have to be really patient to be a good parent. I feel like that has been a key. And then also, it's underrated to look at your son and give him a hug and say, "Hey, I'm proud of you." And I never really got that when I was a kid, but I want my sons to know that I'm proud of them. And I think that's really important. And when I had that moment as a father, you go to a school function and you show up and you can see your kids get pumped because you just walked in. I didn't think dad was going to be there. I'm a dude that works 50 hours a week. So when I show up, it's a big deal. And he thought, they're about in tears. And so when I had moments like that as a father, I realized that there's young men and women that I am training as a mentor that may have needed that too. I don't know, somewhere deep in there. That's kind of where my mental part of that mentor part is. And so I don't know. So that's kind of where hey, I just want you to know I appreciate you comes from for me. And then you just keep practicing it. And then, like I said, it kind of becomes a thing in the shop, but kind of part of the culture. And everybody's just, and they mean it when they say it. So that's kind of
And
the positivity thing, I think.
I think the big difficulty then is implementation because, like many things, it can become disingenuous very quickly when
It
you've got
can. Yeah.
when like trying to capture this for technicians and mechanics everywhere, but this is more of a it's got to start top down, and you get a service manager out there, a fixed ops parts manager out there going, hey, I appreciate you, but they don't know the person's last name, or they don't know
Yeah.
their spouse, or they don't know their spouse's name, they don't know if they
Yeah.
have children, they don't know how old their children are, they don't know what they do as soon as they clock out at 5 o'clock. They don't know what hobbies they have. Like, you can appreciate somebody for the work they do during the day, but no matter what you do during that day with that person, if you don't genuinely know even a shred of who they are outside of wearing that uniform, it's really hard to appreciate them, I find.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can say I appreciate it, but why? Why
Yeah.
do you
Yeah.
appreciate me? What
And,
why
and,
what about me makes me special enough for you to appreciate what I do
right,
for you?
right. And hit them with it. You know, I, you know, my mentees, the younger guys in my shop. I don't have any gals, unfortunately, right now, but the younger guys in my shop, I tell them, hey, I appreciate you for doing whatever. Hey, that was pretty cool that you stayed late the other day and got that knocked out. I really appreciate that because I didn't have to come in and do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That really makes a big difference to me, whatever. And I feel like we're really disconnected emotionally out there as mechanics. We kind of like you said, it's kind of our culture to be kind of a little bit disconnected emotionally. And because I feel like, yeah, we're kind of hard and we don't want, I don't know, we don't want people to take advantage of us, or we feel like, people might turn that against us. But, I just, I don't take things to heart. And sometimes people, some of the guys in the shop are just not going to be cool with it. They're just,
No.
they're not. And, and you can hit them with it anyway and kill them with kindness. But, you just got to move on and go with the people that are ready to receive it. You know what I mean? And stay with it, because you got to be positive and surround yourself with the other people that want to be positive, and those other people, eventually they work themselves out. They just
And
become,
the difficulty is when they don't work themselves out.
Oh, you ain't lying, brother.
It's I've seen it from both sides of the bench, front and back of house, being in the big chair. When you've got somebody toxic, it's
difficult.
Sometimes you don't even know they're toxic, and that's the big thing, because we as mechanics, we tend to not we complain to each other, right? We complain at length to each other.
Yeah.
Very seldom does there a lot of positive come out of the comments. Oh, fuck this. Oh, fuck them. They don't know what they're fucking talking about.
Shop meeting. Let's have a shop meeting. And then
exactly.
Nobody says anything.
Nobody
and then
says anything.
We're so passive aggressive, dude. We're so passive aggressive.
Worse after those shop meetings.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I recall, this is going back a couple of years at a body shop, and we had a gentleman who was at the time considered to be a very high producer, and he left, and we were really concerned that shop productivity was just going to hit the fucking floor. Like, this is an individual who would produce 150, 160% on hours, like, huge. And he was in an area where it was vital that had to be at that level for the rest of the shop to flow properly. He left, and shop productivity didn't change. Full 8-hour day here person at 150% everyday person, gone. Shop productivity did not change.
Yeah.
You have apprentices that stepped up to the plate because all of a sudden they didn't have bullshit to deal with. You have preppers and painters who all of a sudden miraculously their productivity increased even more because the apprentices were now taking the time to communicate. Hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what's coming down the pipe. I've just taken on this, this, and this. So the painters, instead of prepping, the painter's mindset, playing chess, okay, that's going to happen. That's going to happen. That's going to happen. I'm going to slot this in. I'm going to slot this in. I'm going to slot this in. I'm going to do these 2 bumpers. No, now I'm going to do 6 bumpers because I know those are the, like, it was crazy because the shop started talking.
Yeah.
One person, it wasn't even 10% because it wasn't even a shop of 10. I think it was a shop of 13 at the time. So it was less than 10% left. And not only did we not lose that less than 10%, we started to gain.
Yeah, everybody else went up and made up the difference.
And it was wonderful to watch because they did it themselves. So I'm thankful at the time that, it was a really big wake-up call for me at the time to start to really try and focus on the culture, because culture isn't just a trend word, as Sean Welsh likes to say. It's trendy to say culture.
Buzzword, yeah.
But that buzzword, it's
buzzword, yeah.
Even as a leader, you can get so caught up in looking at data points and looking back at it that you're not actually looking at the culture of the shop and see, is everybody happy? When you ask them, when you as a leader walking out of the shop, hey, what'd you do this weekend? Did you have fun? How you feeling today? It's Tuesday. And they say, oh, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's good. And they go into some detail and it sounds like it's pretty good and they're happy. But they're not. They're really not.
Yeah.
So that means that, and rightfully so in the circumstance, I got fired from there. I wasn't communicating well with these people for some reason. We weren't connecting. I wasn't a good fit for the shop. I wasn't a good fit for the owner for one reason or another. It doesn't matter whether I did anything positive or not in there. It wasn't, I implemented processes and systems in there, Six Sigma. They had already come in they had already been doing Six Sigma, but we did more. I took it to the nth degree. I was looking at data points like crazy and finding ways to produce more and da 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 da. It didn't matter if I did any of that thing positive because I wasn't helping the shop.
Yeah.
The learning experience for me, great, awesome. But it again brings us back to how, as a leader, how in your circumstance, how is you that you've got 10 plus years doing
Yeah.
what you do. You got even more time turning wrenches, but 10 plus years doing what you're doing. Now that you're mentoring, what is the thing that you would say beyond sheer appreciation? What would be something that you could say that is not subjective, nor could it be taken disingenuously as I
Yeah.
appreciate you? What is something tactical that you would say to, say, a lead tech or a shop foreman or a supervisor in a shop that they can tactically go, hey, this I can do every single day, all day, every day, and I'm going to help my techs be happier?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you hit a couple of things in there where it's like, managers and, I have a great manager, but even a lot of times it's like the small talk doesn't really jive with me. I've been doing it for so long that I feel like the small talk might jive with the junior technicians, but it's like, dude, I'm here to make a paycheck. Like I'm here to make that paper. You know what I mean? They know that. I know that. I know where my place is in this business, and I come here and I handle my business. And so a lot of times I don't really like to be messed with. And so I don't the the positive portion of my day is my own. I make it my own positive. It's positive because I make it positive in my own mindset. And so like what my managers say to me, the only thing they can do is make it negative for me. Like they're not going to come. They're better off saying nothing. For me,
Mm-hmm.
like I can go out, have a great day and no great weeks, months. But what I need from as a 10 plus year scenario, um, everybody gets in a slump, right? I know I get in ruts like about once a year. I get in a couple of week rut where I'm like, I freaking hate it here. But I'm saying it to myself, because one, if there's other mentors out there listening, it's your position to keep that crap to yourself. Like you don't go to your mentees and complain about other technicians in the shop. You don't go to your mentees and complain about your managers in the shop. That stuff is your own. If you want to vent about it, you go to your manager and you let them know your feelings, or that stuff you don't that causes hate and discontent in the shop. You need to keep that crap to yourself. That's something I'm very serious about, I think. But yeah, so I just have that. I just create the positivity myself, but like I don't feel like uh I kind of lost a little train of thought there, but help me out here. Where was
So,
I
like,
at?
so I guess the biggest summary of that, and I think the most important thing to take that there's two things there. One, from manager's point of view, and I've said this before, but this is you kind of illustrated it by experience. You personally, the best way a manager can help you is to, for not necessarily you specifically, but anybody in your position, mechanics
Yeah,
around, and I've said this before, is individualize. So
yeah, yeah,
you as a person, you don't want the small talk.
yeah, yeah,
Hey, how was your weekend? How was your day? What you have for lunch? What's going on? What do
yeah,
you like pineapple on pizza? That you don't want that.
yeah,
And
yeah,
realistically speaking, somebody who's talked to you probably a dozen times over the course of the first month of you being employed with them, they probably know that, or
yeah,
they should at least see the signs that you're making the social cues to walk away because you don't want to do the small talk. You just want
yeah,
to,
yeah.
I'm
Oh
here.
yeah, yeah,
I can work hard. I can produce. You can see me produce. Leave me the fuck alone, and
yeah,
I'll
yeah,
work. That's so that individualizing you as that person don't want small
yeah,
talk.
yeah.
Jim
So
beside you
yes.
might just want to talk for 20
Oh yeah,
minutes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Like
my
it's
second point,
okay.
yeah, and so back to that. So my second point says that got me back in there. I got into a little like cove there
Mm-hmm.
about the mentor part, but yeah. So my second point to that was I myself I get into a rut every once in a while, and I need my manager to see that, and I need him to come and say, hey, what's going on? I depend on him to see that in me and come to me and say, hey, you need to get your crap together and pull your britches up, and your numbers are down, your sales are down, your customers are calling and they're upset. I need you to get your crap together.
Yeah, that's your second big point. Being able to
Yeah,
have a leader who's capable of seeing when you're up and when you're down, and more
exactly.
importantly, being able to see that you're down, knowing that you're a good producer, you know that you're a good employee, or know that you're a good tech, whatever the case may be. Being able to see that negative, being able to help you through that and not weaponize any
Right.
failures or dissatisfaction, so that you as a person can go to your leader and say, hey, something ain't right. Or
Yeah.
conversely, them come to you going, something's not right. And you don't have to worry about losing your job.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the
And that,
big one there,
yeah.
not weaponizing.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you were to, in that position, you were a manager and you come to the guy and you got a write up in your hand, that's going to be a different conversation.
Mm-hmm.
If you come out, I'm getting ready to get in my service truck and I'm getting ready to head out to my first customer for the day. And you come out to me and you're like, hey, I know you're having a hard time out there, but I need you to get it together. That's the type of talk that I require. You need to know your employee, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
They may need a pat on the back or whatever. That's not the type of employee I am. I need you to say, hey, I need you to get it together. I
Mm-hmm.
can tell that you're in a slump. I need you to pull it together. That's the
Mm-hmm.
type of talk that I typically need. But you got
And
to
it,
know your employee, because
and
if
that
you
will
come at the
vary.
wrong, yeah, yeah, yeah. If you come at them the wrong way, some people don't. You got to know the employee. If you, some people need that kind of talk. Some of them need a hey, they need a little pat on the back, a little rubbing. Hey man, are you all right? Some people need that. Some of them need different. There's different
And
ways to go about that. But
when it's done properly in both circumstances, whether it's positive, middle of the road, or a pat in the back validation, or a negative, hey, pick up your shit.
yeah,
If that's done at the appropriate time for each of one of those, um, those are the important bits.
yeah,
Those are the important bits. And I
and you're going
guess
to get results.
100%.
Yeah, I literally can turn my month around if my manager comes to me at the right time and he's like, hey, I don't know what's going on, but I need you to get it together.
Right.
I can literally turn my numbers completely upside down and just make it happen. And next thing you know, I'm doing 12, 13, 14-hour days and I'm crushing my sales and my customers are all happy, and I can turn it right around. You know what I mean? So it, if done properly, and
Mm-hmm.
I know that's the type of person I am. I feel like if you're a technician out there, you should know what is required to get your motivation to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
And so I will go to my service manager if I get a new service manager or a new manager in place, and I'll say, hey, look, I need you to keep an eye out for these things. This
Mm-hmm.
is how I know I'm sliding off. And when that happens, I need you to come out, have a tough talk with me,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll get back to work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm open and honest about what is needed to keep me motivated and on point. And I feel like other people should be too. You know yourself more than anybody, better than anybody else does. You need to be honest about it. And if you're got a new manager in there, help a brother out.
Mm-hmm.
Don't leave him out there just trying to figure it out. He's got 90,000 things he's trying to figure out, and he's drinking from
Especially
a
new
fire.
ones.
Yeah, he's drinking
Especially a
from a
new one.
fire hose, dude.
Yeah.
Help a brother out. Say, hey, look, if you notice my numbers, my sales are going down. Can you come out and give me the talk, brother? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Just walk me around the freaking parking lot real quick and say, hey, I don't know what's going on. If you got something going on at home or whatever, I do care about those things, but you need to get your crap together.
And you
Holler
know
at me
what?
at the end of the shift.
You're gonna be super special in that regard, because there's not gonna be a whole lot of dudes or girls out there that are gonna be confident enough to say, how they
Yeah,
feel and what they need to pick them up, because A, they may or may not know, and B, they'll be afraid of saying, especially the negative, say, hey, I need to pick, this is when I'm going to need to pick me up if it happens. Because that's
yeah.
that's that's tough, man. That's tough. Well,
It's tough. It takes some self reflection. I'm not gonna lie
big
to you.
time.
But a
Big time.
person, you guys, I mean, if you want to go out there, we always joke around and say, hey, you can come into this business, you can be a 6-figure guy, and you can come out here and slay it and make that paper. But if you want to be a 6-figure guy, you want to be the top of the top, top 5%, like we've been talking about in SDL. You want to be a top 5%er. This is the type of stuff it takes.
Mm-hmm.
If I could go back and tell myself something, this is the type of stuff I'd try to tell myself. If
Mm-hmm.
I could go back, that first year, I was hungry. I was always hungry. And, back then phones weren't like they were now, even, you think about 10 years ago, they were 15 years ago, they were Nokias and flip phones. You know what I mean? You know, I went to the freaking public library and learned about EGR systems on 2008, 2005 to 2008 Cummins ISXs. I learned about all that stuff when I worked at a fleet shop from books at the
Mm-hmm.
library. You know what I mean? I was
I didn't look
hungry.
at it. I didn't go to the library, bro. I just had them. Like I had 5 neons. I had a truck.
Yeah,
I learned it by,
bought childers and all kinds of stuff. You know what? You
I
did
just,
whatever it took, brother.
I just,
You know what I mean?
I bought the stuff that I wanted to fix and learn from.
That's
And
fair.
so I've had like 30 odd cars or something like that. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous, but
But
we
the
all we
trucks
all
I
had to
work
do
on
it
are
back then.
$150,000 though, So
Yeah, it's not that easy to buy a hundred fifty
yeah,
thousand dollar truck just to learn
a
on it.
little different. Yeah.
Well, I think we covered some of that, and I think there's some really good stuff in there to help a lot of people, and so I really appreciate, I really
Yeah.
appreciate it. Um, there's so many more things that we could get into the weeds about, but I think fundamentally the really big things to take away is being self aware,
Yeah.
being appreciative, and showing and saying you're appreciative
Yeah.
is a big thing.
Practice
But
makes perfect, dude.
practice,
Remember?
practice makes perfect, man. Practice
But you
makes
got to start
perfect. So
somewhere,
you got to start somewhere. So that's those are going to be key ingredients for
Yeah.
anybody, anywhere, anytime. And I really hope that we can help somebody somewhere with those tidbits.
Yeah. And just I know you're probably trying to get out of here, but if we go backwards a little bit, you said a percentage of mechanics, um, the suicide
Yeah.
percentage, right? I don't know about Canada, right? But there's a lot of veterans in the United States, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of veterans are blue collar.
Mm-hmm.
So a large percent of them are mechanics and laborers and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And a large percentage, like I myself am ex-military or I'm a veteran,
Mm-hmm.
and I get one of my best buddies is a veteran of the Marine Corps also, and he is a mechanic. I there's two of the guys in the shop I work at are veterans, and there's a third of the guys that I know personally are all veterans. And I feel like that plays a large role as well. A lot of those guys go through
there's
some tough
too
things.
much in there psychology wise to what
To
occurs
really,
to you folks, especially
yeah,
anybody
yeah,
that goes on tour. Like, it's one thing to be in the military, whether it's Canada, US, Australia, UK, Switzerland, it doesn't
yeah,
matter. Being in the military is being in the military, but it's not until you go on tour and you not just do tour, but you actually see action in some
yeah, yeah,
regard. Whether it's part of the action or you're a mechanic and you never actually see the field per se, you're in units that are fixing stuff that's back from the fray, but you're still
yeah,
looking at a piece of equipment that's got bullet holes, bombshells, broken to pieces. You might be
hmm,
cleaning up somebody's blood, somebody's bones from inside a tank that you got to retrofit to go
yeah,
back out. Like that kind of stuff. That is so outside of my scope. You need a referral to therapy.
yeah, yeah.
That is
I
that
I
is
was just,
outside of my scope,
yeah,
and there is no point in me trying to talk to those folks
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
I can't help those folks. I
No,
would
so
love to
I
be
was
able to,
just
but I
saying,
can't
yeah,
help
yeah,
those folks. But the vets in particular, and I know even here in Canada, there's lots of vets that
yeah, yeah,
are not working or are working and are having a hard time keeping a job because it's hard
yeah,
coming
yeah,
back. But I'm super mindful of the vets, especially in this industry, because they're out there. There's lots out there.
yeah, yeah. I was just throwing that out there that there was a lot of them out there, and
Mm-hmm.
they fill a lot of blue collar, hardworking jobs, around the world. Not just,
Mm-hmm.
that's a good point to make because sometimes we get lost in our own little American bubbles over here.
Yeah, it happens, man. Like,
It's easy, man.
there are folks that have never left their own country. There are folks that have never left their own state. There are folks that
Yeah,
have never left their own, tiny encatchment area. And it doesn't matter what
yeah,
country that we're talking about. It's not just the US of A who have just had their, you've just had your 4th of July. So
dude, they're lighting fireworks outside right now.
they're still lighting fireworks. It's
Dude,
the
brother.
fit. You
Yeah,
know what? At the end of the day, people need to be happy.
yeah,
And it's, the goal is to be happy. And there's not always a direct path to it. It's not like this is going to make me happy or this is going to make me happy, but it's finding the little things every day to make you happy. And to
Yeah.
me, I'm not necessarily happy, but I'm getting there because I'm working towards it. And it's the
Yeah.
little efforts and it's the little tidbits. It's like having that moment a couple of weeks back. Actually, it's almost a couple of months now, when I realized that my focus shouldn't be what I was focused on. It should be helping the community that got me the last 20 years of success. If I can
Yeah.
do anything to get back and give back, that's that. This right now, this talking to you, trying to help the entire industry in our shoes, whether they've been in it for 30 years, in it for 10 years, or just starting in it, making sure that they don't go through some of the hardships that we've gone through, to be happy, enjoy what they
Yeah.
do every day, and make more money doing it while being happy. That's what I want.
Yeah. Too, is I feel like when you first start out, right, it's a grind. It's a grind to be successful. Your pay is less, and you're trying to just buy tools and make it through day to day, week to week, and you're just, you got to take those little bites and grind it out.
Mm-hmm.
But and I feel like, I always enjoyed what I did. I always enjoyed fixing things and figuring out things that other people couldn't, or, troublesome trucks, things like that. I really enjoyed that. But then I didn't anymore. I didn't enjoy that anymore because I could fix any truck that came to me, I could figure it out. It wasn't, it wasn't that if I could, it was like, it might take me a little longer, but I'm going to figure it out. So it
Awesome.
got to, it
Awesome.
got to that point, and then I was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
I digress.
So
Point being
yeah,
is you like fixing,
yeah.
challenging.
So I got to the point where it's like, oh, it's got to be hard. And then eventually I was just like, okay, well, I could fix anything. Like I
Mm-hmm.
can do anything, any of the suspension stuff. I can rebuild transmissions. I can rebuild any engine you give me. I tried multiple OEMs. I could fix any truck that I was given. And so I got bored, right? That's where the mentorship came in. I found that. And that is what kept me in the industry. Putting the time into other technicians. That's the legacy part for me. Nobody's going to remember that I fixed a truck. I've fixed thousands of trucks. Nobody's going to remember that I fixed that particular truck, but they're going to remember that I trained that particular mechanic, and so I feel like if you're a younger mechanic right now and you're in the grind right now, just remember that there's other things in the industry that we do that you can stay pumped about what you do. And I pumped myself up by doing that. Other people go to service writers or salesmen or other stuff like that. But what pumped me up was I train junior technicians, and as I'm training them, I see the light bulbs clicking and the gears rolling, the smoke smoking out of their ears, and all of that stuff that we had when we were younger technicians.
Mm-hmm.
And that pumps me up now because I can see them figuring it out and they're getting pumped about it. And the confidence, when they build confidence, those things that pumps me up now. And that's what now I'm like, dude, that's why I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to help these junior technicians and make them better and make them animals and studs. And I don't know, what you'd call a female technician out there, but I call them all studs, hammers. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
so that's what I'm passionate about now. That's what's reinvigorated what I do. So when I'm out fixing trucks now, and I'm not with an apprentice, I get kind of lonely. I get lonely, you know what I mean? Because I'm used to having an apprentice with me all the time, and so and those days can be tough, because uh, that's what keeps me passionate about stuff, And I feel like what you're doing now is you found something that kind of reinvigorates you extracurricularly. Yeah.
But it works.
Yeah, yeah. So on your off time, you found something that keeps you pumped up about the industry and keeps you flowing and shooting and jabbing and keeps it ripping for you. And that's what the mentorship is for me. You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm pumped about. That's why I get pumped about talking about you to you and anybody that'll listen. And there's guys out there right now that are out there grinding it out, mentoring junior technicians by themselves with no support. And I want them to know that I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
Holler at your boy on LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, whatever, dude. I'm
Mm-hmm.
here. If you want advice or you just want to talk about it and get pumped about it, dude, holler at your boy. You know what I mean? We
Absolutely.
maybe we got some stuff I could tell you, you could tell me. You know what I mean? I'm
Exactly.
always looking for a better way to train, and to help and to get
And
these
my God,
young people
do we
pumped.
need it? We absolutely need it so bad because there's so few willing to teach who actually know how to teach and are teaching things that are relevant to teach.
Yeah,
Because you know what, I went through here in Canada, I went through school 2000, 2003, 2004, 2005, give or take. And you know, some of it's relevant now because I'm working on power sports stuff. But I was learning about carbs. Like,
yeah,
why do we spend so much of a portion of your fuel and ignition course as a young apprentice at school, especially when they're templated things like right out of a Toyota handbook
yeah,
about carburetors, when in all likelihood, as an apprentice, you're never going to see a carburetor? It's
yeah.
possible. It's very possible, but it's not
Well,
relevant.
yeah, yeah,
Why aren't we? Did we have electrical class? Yes. Did we
yeah,
learn the basics? Just the ever so little basics. How much hands-on did we actually do in school about hardcore CAN bus? Negligible.
yeah,
Negligible. And CAN bus was a thing in 2005. It wasn't a big thing, but it was a thing. They need to be current,
yeah,
not 15, 20, 25 years ago. They need to be current. They need to be bleeding edge current, and it needs to be in depth. It needs to be hard. Those kids
yeah,
that are in those classes needs to understand that when you are out in the real world, where you may very well have been from, but some of them have not. Some of them really go right to trade school here in Canada. They can go right out of high school, right into quote unquote trade school for a longer period of time, never have touched a car, never have actually touched a car, go through the schooling, and then pop out of there and somehow land a job, especially if they're doing a manufacturer specific trade program like the Chrysler program,
yeah.
the GM program, and
Yeah,
get
pretty
thrown a
hot right
Chevy
now. Yeah,
dealership and have no idea how to talk to a service advisor, have no idea how to talk to a parts person, have no idea how to talk to any of their baymates because none of them have done exactly what they've just done. And when they get
yeah,
thrust in front of a car for the first time, with an actual problem, with an actual customer who owns that car. They have no concept that that car is owned by somebody. So they don't know that putting a fender cover over the fender is not just something so that you don't get the car dirty. But guess what? That fender is owned by somebody who isn't you. If you
yeah,
scratch that fender, the dealership is going to chew the shit out of you
yeah,
because A, you have the opportunity to be successful with a fender cover, but B, you know they're now liable for that scratch. Two, you now have to figure out that electrical problem, not with a team of team or a rest of the class standing around you all popping ideas at what's wrong. Nor do you
yeah,
have a teacher standing on the other side of the car going, "What do you think is next? What do you think is next? Have you tried this? Is the voltage actually 5 volts or is it 5.05 volts? Is the voltage on the negative side 4.9 volt, 4.95
yeah,
volts?" There is nobody there that's going to walk you through that on your first day, on your first month, on your first year, unless you find a good shop to work for that has an entire mentorship program laid out. They has a
ideally, yeah,
shop foreman who is capable of teaching you those things, that has current knowledge, who isn't somebody who is 65, who hasn't actually touched a current car in 5 years or more and hasn't gone to
yeah,
school for any of the current model stuff, which I've experienced.
yeah,
These are the kinds of things we need. Good mentors. We need shop foremen. We need people to step up the plate, and we need businesses who employ technicians and mechanics everywhere to realize that that is a vital role in the shop.
yeah. What kind of started me off is so I was like in a spot, like I told you, I was like, man, this is getting boring,
Mm-hmm.
I need to do something else probably, maybe I need to try I'm in heavy duty, but maybe I need to, the saying goes, the bigger the iron, the bigger the pay.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking, man, maybe I need to go to earth moving or, heavy equipment, like big stuff. So I started kind of him hawing around, maybe going doing some stuff like that at the coal mines or something like that. But then I met a little shout out to a guy. I met a guy on a Facebook page. Guy's name is Brent Delphil, and he's an instructor at a college. I think it's over on the West Coast up in Washington. And he's a diesel instructor. And I was talking to him on Facebook just kind of casually, and he said, "Had you ever heard of an advisory board?" And I said, "No, I don't. What are you talking about?" And so we kind of chatted about it, and he kind of mentioned it to me, and I was talking to my wife about it, and then she said, "Yeah, at my college, the medical department, they have an advisory board, and like all the people from the college, all the people from the hospital and stuff, and the clinics around town, they come and join the advisory board, and then they give them like real world stuff that those nurses and the people that are going through their programs need to understand before they come out into the field." And I thought, oh my God, that is awesome. So I said, man, how do you think I get on advisory board? I was talking to my wife about it. And she said, well, maybe you should just go over to the diesel class one day and after work or whatever, and just ask the diesel instructor, like, when is their advisory board? And that's what I did. I went over and I found the instructor, and I said, hey, my name's Marshall and I work at whatever. And I was just wondering, what's the deal with your advisory boards? I don't know anything about it. I'm kind of new to the situation, but I'd like to get involved and do maybe help you be a better program. I don't know, whatever that entails. I'd volunteer time or whatever it takes. And then he was like, yeah, well, here's the date for the first one, for the next one, and I was like, okay, cool. So I just started going to these advisory board meetings and meeting the kids, the students that are in these classes. And I got an apprentice from one of those classes after that. That's kind of what started it for me. And I still talk to those apprentices that I got from that program, and they're all doing great and they're fantastic out there just making that paper, doing great for themselves and their families. And I that's what started it. And so the whole point of that little story there was that if you are 5 to 8 years in and you're starting to wonder, like, I don't know, I'm kind of bored, this is kind of the monotonous, and it's the same thing every day. I pull the BMWs in and I fix the BMWs and then I back them out, and I'm kind of bored with working on these BMWs every day, but the money's good and I'm just toughing it out over here. Maybe you should think about maybe check out this advisory board deal. And it's like one Saturday every quarter. So like every 4 months, you got to devote a little bit of your couple hours of your time, and you can make a difference to a local community college that's trying to your point, they've got kids learning this about carburetors on Toyotas that they're never going to see, but you have expertise that school never even seen before, and you have expertise that you could help an instructor that may have never worked on something as fantastic as a BMW that parks itself, and you could help them create curriculum to help those students be better coming out of the class, and then they can come work for you at BMW, you know and you might have a connection with one. And I feel like it's really important that you have a connection with your mentees. And that's what was so great about that program there, was that I would meet the technicians that were, or the kids in the class, and I'm like, man, that guy's going to be a hammer, that gal's going to be a stud out there on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
She's going to be a fantastic diagnostic tech. I can just see how she works and her function and her process, and I'm like, man, she's going to be a great diagnostic technician or whatever. That kid's going to be a great engine builder. I can tell just by the way he is. And so the more you're in that, and you have these relationships with these students, and then when your store hires them on, and then you get to teach them, you already, you're invested in that student at that already, before they've even got to you, you're invested in them.
I think, and that's one of the big things that Joe and Eric was trying to get into a couple of weeks ago in SDL is, we were talking about technician shortages, And like I've said before, we don't have technician shortages. We've got apprentice shortages.
Yeah.
We've got people leaving the industry in droves, and almost nobody coming into it. Like 10% of the need is being filled. 10%. So if you need 10, you're getting one. And as a dealership, as a brand, as an OEM, however you deem the title is that you sell product or you service product, if you're not investing heavily to get yourself in front of people who are already in the trades and are already in mechanic work to
Yeah.
create that relationship, you're in with the taking candy from babies. No, you're trying to give candy to the baby because they're
Yeah.
there already. And then secondly, getting into schools before that. What are you doing
Yeah.
what are we doing as an industry to try and get people into our industry? Like 50 years ago,
Yeah.
60 years ago, the Chevy dealership and the Dodge dealership and the Ford dealership are having bloody wars with each other who can put the biggest motor in the smallest car. And absolutely everybody was like, oh my God, look at this amazing stuff that's going on. And
Yeah.
now, and back then, big engine bays, and even though the orders were big, there was still much room to work. And it was a profession.
Yeah.
And now it's a job. And in worse, it's gotten to the point where it's dirty job, and grease monkey is no longer frowned upon. They don't even talk about us. Like it's not
Yeah.
even a conversation to have with. It's like, you're not going to make any money as a mechanic. Well,
Well,
that's wrong, because there's a
yeah.
lot of people out there making a lot of money turning a wrench,
Yeah.
but it's just
Well,
not talked about.
and I feel like that's probably a lot more on the car side because, um, my wife will come home from work and she'll be like, yeah, I don't know why, but everybody thinks you make like a bajillion dollars. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
what do you mean? I, I'm barely making it off here.
Mm-hmm.
I live good, but I'm not, making $1 million out here, and she's like, well, I don't know. Everybody always thinks that diesel mechanics make all kinds of crazy money. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, well, what you need to tell them is I don't make what's on the door.
Mm-hmm.
I, I might, if I'm lucky, I'm making 30% of what's on that door rate,
And
you
that's a
know?
good shot that's paying you 30%.
Yeah. You know, that's like top dollar, so yeah, there is definitely that disconnect with the customers out there that think this is the door rate, this is what the mechanic's making, and they're the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's no meat left there for the shop. Like this is where the mechanic's getting paid, and the shop is getting all of this part. For some reason they think that we're out there taking that $200 an hour labor rate and we're putting it in our pockets, but we're
Right. And you're
you
in
know
diesel at $200 an hour. That's a standard rate for you guys in the car
yeah.
business. Here in Canada, even if you consider the exchange rate between the American and the Canadian dollar, most of the shops around here are still only $100 an hour.
Yeah, that's
And that's
crazy, huh?
it's like $75-$78 an hour American right now, I think, give or take. So at
Yeah.
$200 an hour, even at 30%, you're making a really good wage. But
Yeah.
at 30% on $100 an hour, $30 an hour, busting knuckles, bleeding, sweating, tear in your eye because you got dirt in it, it sucks. Donkey
Yeah.
balls.
Yeah, I can't do
So
it, brother. I
for
can't do it.
you,
Yeah.
you couldn't do it. Like with
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
amount of bullshit you're in the field. Like
Yeah.
you're out, like
Everything's harder. Yeah.
everything's so much harder. And I don't think even other mechanics don't truly know what it's like. Mobile tech, you're in a truck and you get
Truck,
a
you're out there messing
cuss and you're
around.
messing
Yeah.
around. I want to ask you, like, it's a genuine question that, because I've done mobile service,
Yeah.
I sucked at it. It was not for me. And I'll tell you why. It's very simple. Take the hardest job you could possibly do in a dealership or
Yeah.
a service bay or a truck bay anywhere. Take the hardest job you could possibly imagine. Now, do that wearing rubber boots in 6 inches of mud in the middle of winter.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah.
Now, you're in 6 inches of mud. Guess what? The machine is sunk in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's frozen. And if you've ever experienced plate steel in the winter, plate steel is like a vacuum for heat.
Yeah.
So if you happen to be wearing your underwear, your long johns, your pants, your coveralls, then your outerwear of whatever it is, whether it's with snow gear, whatever. If you even for a second touch 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch plate steel on any piece of equipment out in the field, the heat in your body is gone.
Yeah.
It's gone.
That is a funny thing because it's like it sucks it out of you.
It's
It's a really
literally
unusual
just,
thing.
it's like, it's just gone. And what's
Yeah.
worse is when things are that cold, it's almost like they're harder. So when
Yeah.
you wrap your knuckles, if you're holding on to a plate steel wrench and it's a 1-inch wrench, and you wrap your
Mhm.
knuckles in the shop and it's 25 degrees C, 75 degrees Fahrenheit, and you wrap your knuckles on something, it fucking hurts. But when you do that and the wrench is frozen and the plate steel that you just wrapped it off is frozen,
Mhm.
your hand is now butter and
Yeah.
you're in so much pain you don't know what to do because you can't think. It hurts so much because it's cold and because you're alone in a field in 6 inches of mud. There's nobody to
Yeah.
complain to. The
Yeah.
job still has to get done.
Done. Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether you're bleeding or broken. That excavator needs to work by 9 a.m. tomorrow morning when the operator comes in. Because guess what?
Yeah.
He gets charged out at $250 an hour, and that machine is $1,000 an hour to run. And if it doesn't
Mhm.
run by 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, you are costing that business $15,000 to $16,000 a day or more. And
Yeah.
that's 3 times as much as your repair. So you need to suck it up and you need to
Make it
fix it.
happen. Yeah. Oh yeah, dude, you're on it, dude. And so I lived in Wyoming for about 10 years, and I moved to Georgia here a few years ago. And so in Wyoming, it's kind of like you know, it's kind of Canada weather there, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
we get negative 40, 70-mile-an-hour winds. On top of that, blizzards all the time. Trucks get just blown over by the wind. You know,
Yeah.
it's a brutal place to live. And you'll be outside and the weather is so cold, you're breathing, and the breath coming
Is
out of your
is
nose
freezing.
freezes to your nose hairs, and then it creates a big giant ice ball that you can't get out until
Mm-hmm.
it melts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, your beard gets
It's
icicles.
yeah.
It's
This
just
was this even
insane.
this winter here in Canada where I am, and I'm not even north. I call it South Central Ontario because that's the best description that I've come up with. I'm South
Yeah.
Central Ontario. I'm not south. I'm South Central. So I have several pictures after blowing snow this year where my beard is just white. My mustache is white at minus 25 C. And somebody's on here, maybe Canadian, is going to go minus 40 Fahrenheit, minus 40 Fahrenheit. What does that convert to Celsius? It converts to minus 40 Celsius. It's fucking cold.
Cold. Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it converts to. It's fucking
Yeah.
cold.
It hurts to
Okay.
open your eyes. Okay.
Yes. So I've not experienced minus 40 here where we live. I've never I've experienced close to it. My wife went to school in Sudbury, which is about 3 hours north of here, and it gets very, very, very,
Yeah.
very cold there. The most that we've experienced is minus 38 C there, and
Yeah.
that was cold enough that it froze the coolant in my car.
Yeah.
Like it froze the coolant in my poor Pontiac Sunfire. I'm thankful it didn't split the block because nobody could start the cars in the morning. I was supposed to
Yeah.
come back on the Sunday, and I didn't leave. I couldn't leave. The car wouldn't start. It wouldn't move. It was frozen solid. So
There was plenty of nights I just left my car running in the driveway.
yeah, I didn't. I was
You know,
young and stupid at the time. I didn't know any
yeah.
better.
If it's
But
gonna be that cold, like I literally would leave my car running in the driveway all night long, and then I would wake up in the morning. Dude, it didn't even use any gas. You'd get in there and it's like, dude, that thing, I can't believe that.
yeah, yeah,
Gas
hours on
gauge didn't
end.
move. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
So
and so moving to Georgia though, the weather is polar opposite. It's like Satan's a-hole here.
yeah,
I went from just brutally cold to brutal heat. And I'm sure the guys in Florida are going to be on here going, you don't know what heat is, bud. But
it's the
like,
humidity.
dude, 108 at a mine site, and it's 108 in Wyoming is like not that bad. It's hot, but it's not that bad. But
Mm-hmm.
108 here, it's like if you look at the thing in Wyoming, it'd be like, oh, it's 15 degrees feels like -20. I mean, you're like, oh, okay, better put on a couple of extra britches before I go out today. And then here it's like it says 108 feels like 122, and you're like, what? No. And you sweat immediately when you walk out of the door. Like immediately you start beating up, and you're like, it looks like your beard looks like you just climbed out of the shower. It's like, dude, what is going on? This is ridiculous. Why did I do this to myself? You know.
Awesome.
But yeah, so no, I just thought that was kind of just a funny story.
Well,
But
I think ending on that funny story is a good one. That's awesome. I really appreciate tonight. I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate your experience.
yeah,
I think a
anytime,
lot of
dude.
a lot of people are going to be able to take. I'm going to try and chop this together to make it manageable for those who don't want to sit down for an hour and a half, change like we have.
Oh yeah,
There's going to
you
be
can
some.
chop it up and use it however you want.
We'll
If
do
it's
some
not
good
all in
stuff.
there, it's okay.
Yeah. So, but
Yeah,
fundamentally, it's good. Um,
yeah,
what I'm going to do now is I've got, like I said, I've got a whole bunch more to film. I'm going to try to do some editing along the way because I'll do some snippets as I've been doing, little snippet here, little this and there, just kind of
yeah.
teasing as I go. Um, but when I go to, I'm not going to post anything until I get your okay. So I'll do a chop and I'll send you a link to it
Yeah,
so that you can watch it. And then, if you're good with everything, and then I'll post it. So, and what I
yeah,
think I'm going to do is I've set up a Patreon account. So the audio file, once I figure out how to do it, I'm going to get a SoundCloud, and then all of the audio is going to go up as a podcast on SoundCloud, which will then get dispersed between probably Spotify and Apple iTunes, and you
yeah,
can consume it on SoundCloud as well. The tidbits will be on LinkedIn like this. I'll probably do even shorter snippets, like 7 to 15 second snippets on TikTok, on my TikTok account, and then the long form video, everything. I might even leave it uncut, um, and go to the paid Patreon, so that
yeah, yeah,
because realistically speaking, what I want to do is I want to build a paid community on Patreon so that I can
yeah,
give
yeah,
the really intimate, really good stuff there. So the hopes is that can be my exit out of
yeah,
turning a wrench, because at 9 months in doing what I'm doing back turning the wrenches again, I'm in a lot of pain.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I feel
I
your
don't
pain, brother.
I don't think I'm going to be able to manage another 4 years of this to finish. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to manage another 4 years of this to finish get my license, my motorcycle license. My
Mm.
wife's a chiropractor and she's been fixing me every week, and I'm going to have to start going to a massage therapist probably every month, maybe every 3 weeks, to try and keep me healthy enough to do this, because I'm broken between two knee
Well,
surgeries, a shoulder surgery, and
you're fortunate that your wife's a chiropractor because
uh,
I go to a chiropractor and a massage therapist
mm-hmm.
regularly. I do the exact same thing. It's
Yeah,
if I go quarterly, I'm stretching it,
yeah,
and I use my health savings plan to pay for my chiropractor, and
mm-hmm.
well, to pay for my I do a deep tissue massage, and then I go directly to the chiropractor after that, and
Bingo.
I do that on a Friday evening, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm laid up for Saturday. The day
Mm-hmm.
after that, I can barely move. I feel like somebody just hung me up and
Destroyed you, but you realize
beat.
on
Yeah,
Monday you can actually work.
brother. Overhead wrenching. I know I have to go when sometimes I'm overhead wrenching, and it gets like I can't like go for very long before my hands go numb.
Mm-hmm.
I do the massage therapist. I hit the chiropractor Monday morning, dude. I'm like Superman.
Yeah,
I'm over there just doing my thing.
yeah, and
So
and
I feel you.
I started to note that the first time around when I was still wrenching back in 2010, 2011, I started noticing that happen after like 8 years of wrenching. Now I have uh one of the last years I got steel in my arm, right? Can I get it in the camera? Right about here.
Yeah,
So it occasionally touches the nerve. So then I lose
yeah,
sensation on these three fingers.
yeah.
Um, which also, because I've also had shoulder surgery in this right shoulder, which is my dominant shoulder, I
Mm,
lose circulation really easy when I'm here. So when I'm
yeah,
doing this for a long period of time, I lose circulation on top of everything else
Yeah.
faster than anybody else would. So,
Well, you got like a large cluster of nerves right here, right here in your
yeah.
armpit, which a lot of people don't realize. Like that deep tissue massage, brother, that's the ticket, man. It really helps the flow and all of these things to communicate like they're supposed to. I don't know, but whoever watches this uncut version is going to go, this dude won't let him get off the podcast.
Yeah, fuck. It's all right. It's all right, man. It's all the tidbits because it's those little bits. Like if I could communicate back to my 2004 self, start going, go to the gym and go to the gym.
Yeah.
One, two, don't just go to the gym to lift weights. Go to the gym to do yoga. Three, start going to the chiropractor early. I didn't go to the chiropractor until my wife became a chiropractor because I learned all kinds of different stuff.
Really good for you, yeah.
Three, and then four would be anything to do with your food. If you can be healthy eating your food so that you're less inflammation so that you can do this more,
yeah,
which also helps with a lot of other things.
Yeah.
That's going to be the key tickets to longevity in this trade.
Oh yeah, definitely. I tell apprentices all the time, when you're out messing around after work or whatever, just remember what these are.
They make money.
These are your money makers. Without these, you ain't making nothing.
And I say that as I drink one of these. So
yeah, dude, I'm mad about those energy drinks. I've been trying to do the Alpha Brain or whatever. It's got a little vitamin B6 in it, but dude, it just takes the edge off. It ain't enough to like. I've been drinking energy drinks for a long time, and they're bad for me. And I'll get off of them for a while, and I'll do vitamin B6, and I'll try to be good about it, and I'll just take the vitamin B6, and it's just like I said, it's just enough to take the edge off it.
Isn't this the Rogan thing?
Yeah, that's the Rogan thing, but I didn't realize it was the Rogan thing until after I was taking it.
Oh, okay.
My wife's like, "Did you get that from Joe Rogan?" I'm like, "No, I didn't. I just was at the store and I thought, oh, that looks good. It's a new tropic. I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll try it out." And I tried it out, and I've been taking it, but I don't know. I'm kind of big on more natural options if I can, but like for there's some stuff out there that you can take, like St. John's wort for like mental stability, try mental positiveness, kind of supports a lot of mental things that I recommend. And it's a serious business. Like it's kind of like a real medicine. You can't just stop taking it. You have to ramp yourself off of it. And it's literally, oh dude, I'm going to sound so hippie right now, but it's like a herbal thing. You know what I mean? And I really enjoyed it. And I just didn't want to take like antidepressants and all of these things to try to, with my mental attitude. And that's kind of, honestly, that's where a lot of my, like I can tell myself to be positive, and literally I'm like, I can be positive like almost instantly, just the mind over matter, just practicing it. And, but I started taking that St. John's wort, and it really helped. Maybe it was a placebo effect, but if that's something that you're struggling with, staying positive mentally, and maybe it's almost a depression type of feeling. I mean, hey, I'm not about like just everybody going out and medicating the crap out of themselves, but like try something natural first, and if it takes the edge off, then maybe there's something there. You know what I mean? But that St. John Wort, dude, that's just serious business. Like, if you research it, like you can't just stop taking it. It's just like a real medicine you get from the doctor. A prescribed medication. And when you go to the doctor, they want to know that you're taking it. It's because it can have reactions with other medications. So that's how when I went to the doctor, and he was like, "Oh, okay. Well, we need to be careful with it because it can have reactions to this and this." And I was like, "Oh, really? I mean, I can stop taking it." He's like, whoa. If you're going to stop taking it, we're going to have to ramp you off of it a little bit at a time. And I was like, "Oh, okay. Serious business then."
Yeah.
I was like, so.
And that's one of those moments where you seek professional advice. Truly, don't take the mechanic's advice on how to take drugs. Yeah.
Do your own research and talk to your doctor. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. 100%.
Do your yearly visits, like you were saying, dude. I never went to the doctor, but now I go to yearly visits and I get my blood checked and I get, checking for all the things. And, like you were saying, just take better care of yourself. If you could go back and talk to yourself,
If you can
dude.
set the habits early, and that's the thing now, it's I come across energy drinks not to stay up late, not to stay awake or whatever, but I found that when I went off coffee, something, because I'm back drinking coffee, but I went off coffee for a period of time, and I found that the energy drinks did more than the coffee ever did for me, and there was a sense of focus that seemed to come across when I had them,
Mm,
which is weird. And then I find out, this is back when I started to figure out that maybe I have ADHD, and maybe there's stuff to
yeah.
go along with that. Maybe it's a mild case or whatever the case may be, and there's lots of things that might be at play there. But when you exhibit all of the things that occur when you are diagnosed with ADHD, and I mean, if there's a question that can be asked, and the my response is the response that it matches what ADHD is. So I have not been professionally diagnosed, so I don't know. But the
Dude, I
concept
think you're
is the
onto
energy.
something.
It, uh, it
I
helped
mean,
me.
I feel the same way because I get like a very serious mental clarity when I drink an energy drink and I throw an extra one in my thing for at lunchtime, dude. So I drink one on my way to work. By the time I get to work, dude, I'm dead ass focused. And
Yeah, and
then,
it's but for me, it doesn't always work. Like it's not always a if I want to get
dude,
focused, I drink an energy drink. It's not always there. So again, seek medical advice, professional advice before taking my
yeah,
advice on energy drinks. And
yeah,
they
yeah.
really aren't healthy for you.
No, they're
So,
terrible.
but they fucking
Absolutely
taste
terrible.
good, man. They taste good. They taste good.
They taste like sweet success. I'm not gonna lie.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, heck
Well,
yeah.
Marshall, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's getting late, which means
Yeah,
that
yeah.
I need to go do the husband things because I really haven't paid any attention to my wife in a
Dude,
very long time today. So
me
you
too.
probably
I gotta do it.
need to do the same thing, and thank you very
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
And I will
Hey,
keep in touch.
anytime. Yeah, anytime
Awesome.
you come up with something you're thinking, oh
If
man,
nothing else, I'll see you on Sunday.
dude, always. Yeah, yeah. I didn't jump in last week because there was a lot of people in there that were new and trying to get in on the action, and I was like,
Mhm.
I'll sit back today. You know what I mean?
Hey man, input
Yeah,
is input.
dude, there were
Input is
some
input.
hardcore people in there last week. I was like, dude, this guy's been in the business for 65 years, and I was like, I'm not gonna compete with that joker.
No, not gonna. And I think that was probably
Yeah,
Charbonneau. He's like 74 years old. Like the man's
yeah,
seen just about everything.
yeah. He was out there doing CSI scores on Noah while they were building the ark. You know what I mean?
He's probably not wrong. Probably not
No,
wrong.
no. All right, man. We'll talk to you later.
And cheers, buddy. Cheers, buddy.
All right, bye.